Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm on a bus in Malta.
Where are you today?
In Malta.
Oh, okay.
Let's give everybody a couple of minutes to get on.
Yeah. I'm scanning a document, so I'm gonna just move over to my area.
Rob, I'm here. My camera's off because I'm still getting ready to leave, but I'm here.
Okay. There you go. Keeping it real.
Wow, it looks nice.
Until everybody's on. Let's see here.
What do you think of Malta? It's always on House Hunters as an affordable, nice place to get a place. It's always on House Hunters International.
It looks a little sketchy
Is it? Okay. I figured.
between you and me. All right. So my video working right there. It's supposed to be for me.
Well, we can see you and you're moving.
All right. Very good. There's Malta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay.
So, anybody have anything interesting to say before we burn the last 2 minutes before we get started? Looks like a very intimate group here, unless everybody hops on in a minute.
It's still early. They have a couple of minutes.
2 more minutes, right? I'm working on an interesting listing that I got from Remax Concierge.
Nice.
It's I've dubbed it Smoky Holler. But it's a very nice guy, a widower, needs to sell his place. I mean, I want to do my best for him and help him. But if we get $175,000 for the place, we'll be lucky. But
Wow. And where do you find a place for 175?
well, I'll send you the listing. We've got the photos. It's not a bad place. It's on a lake, but it's a manufactured home. It's fine. You can live in it, but the guy is a heavy smoker, so hence the name Smoky Holler.
Ah,
So if it wasn't smoky and it was totally, a little nicer, it would probably go for 200,000,
woo, big deal.
but we discount. Yeah. So I think we've got it priced to sell. We'll see.
That's awesome. Good morning, Bobby and Michael.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good morning.
Morning, Chopper. All right. So
Hi, Rob. Good morning, everybody.
we're coming to you live from Malta on the hop on, hop off button. All right.
Make sure your wife wears a skirt in the church there. They're very strict.
There you go. So today I wanted to talk about something that I think a lot of team leaders and even the donut I deal with, and it's gonna be a little bit controversial. What success for agents isn't about it's not about training, it's not about technology, it's not about splits. I'll repeat that. Success isn't about leading, training, technology, and splits. Those are all distractions. Success is about congruence. Okay, I know it sounds corny, but congruence is an alignment of mission, values, culture, and caring. Okay, so many times we're our worst enemies because we're different than the people that we lead. You can't lead from behind. Most of us on this call here would never be a team member. And sometimes we negotiate against our own interests, thinking that our team members are looking for stuff that they're not. And we lead them to those conclusions. Is there anybody on this call that can tell me that they disagree with success not being about leads, training, technology, and splits? You can do all of that and still fail, right? You can
Right.
have the best training if they don't buy into it. You can give them all the leads if they can't close them.
Right.
You can give them technology if they don't use it. And a higher split of nothing is still nothing, right?
You can't want it more than they do.
Yeah, that's true. But they also have to be a fit, Beth, right?
Right.
And they have to believe in our mission. They have to be in alignment. We have to share common values. They have to fit the culture. And, I think it's our obligation that we have to find people that we actually care about them being successful, right? We're not going
Right.
to do it for them, but we actually, if you find somebody that you don't care for and you bring them on your team, I think Chopper's the best at this, right? It's never going to work, right? You're going to pull up to your office, Chopper, and somebody you don't like, and you're going to be like, oh, I don't want to go in there. So, that all matters. And if I can start to reprogram the way we think away from, all the shiny object syndrome, right? Ooh, Beth, it's leads. Ooh, it's AI leads. Oh,
Right.
we have training that nobody takes advantage of. Ooh, look at all this technology. Oh, we'll give you lower fees at a higher split. You can still, like, how many people, I think all of us have found somebody that we brought on that we probably made an investment ourselves in them, right? And maybe paid part of their monthly fee. And what do we get? Nothing. They're not invested in the outcome, right? They don't fit the process. What's given for free has no value, right? If I was going to give you $800 Zillow leads back, you might not do anything. You might say, oh, I'm busy today. I'm not going to call it back. Right. So because there's no cost, there's no perceived value. And
No. If you give me $800, I'll call them back. I promise.
okay, you will, but there are some agents that won't, right?
Yeah, no, we've been through that.
So let's see.
Rob, can you just see who iPhone is on this call?
Yeah, we have two iPhones on. Who are those? I guess one's by Ron Piccolo,
There's
right?
Sophia, and then the other one, not sure. Can you please just the person that's on with the iPhone, can you just please say your name?
Jennifer.
I'm gonna give them like a minute and then okay. Jennifer, and then
I don't know. We'll leave them on, whatever. But so welcome to the call, Jennifer. My opening statement was for team members, success isn't about giving them more leads, more training. It's not about the best technology or the highest split. It's about congruence. Congruence is the alignment to our mission, values, culture, and having people that will care to help them be successful. Sorry for the background noise. I'm on a bus in Malta. And I don't know, Adoni, you're in the same boat with managing agents. If you want to take a moment and kind of maybe parlay that into something that some of the team leaders can relate to, or Bobby Golden, I know you're in the same boat. We shared these stories together in the foxhole.
yeah, I guess I'll just add to that. When during this time of the year, what I've been doing is meet up with my agents, do the care calls, especially those that we haven't heard from, or they're just waiting for leads to be handed over to them, and or let's say they had two under contract and they felt like they no longer have to do anything else because that's all they're focusing on. Just trying to keep them back together, like focusing for the remaining of the year. That's important. So this is the time that you want to have those one-on-ones, like, hey, let's see what you have done from beginning of the year to now. Where are you at? Especially if they care about, awards, and if you did business planning last year, compare to where they are at now. And if you guys want to know, like getting the reports, we can have Ricardo get the reports for you guys for your team. So if you're interested in knowing where your team is at and have those conversations, let's say somebody's production dropped last year compared to now, that's the time you want to have a conversation with them as well. Bobby, what do you do in your office to get your agents motivated and keep continuing doing business without having to think that we need to give them something in return, meaning like higher split or cover their monthly costs? Probably stepped out.
Or maybe sometimes he's taking it from him. No, hold on.
All right, I'm gonna pick on Chopper for a second. Chopper, you run a really successful team. What do you do day to day that motivates your team to continue producing without you having to constantly give something back to them?
Try to set up some processes for them to follow. And Patrick's great with managing the team with his one-on-ones with them. And we set up the goals and try to make them accountable. Um, it's easier said than done. Um, it's a lot of times I'll grab them on their own and talk to them to try to get them, right side up. Sometimes you see the ones that they just got beaten up, so you got to brush them off and pick them up and get them moving again. But it's about accountability.
How often does Patrick meet with each team member?
Once a week, they'll do a 15-minute Zoom, and then we have team meetings every other Wednesday. And then after this call, we've been implementing a chat GPT meeting for 15 minutes on every Monday. How we're using that to make ourselves more efficient, be it work wise or even personal wise.
Chopper, do you still have all your team members interview somebody before you hire them?
Yes, we just hired a new one, Robin Laritas. It's a 7-step process. First, they meet with Patrick and me, and then one of my coaches does an interview with a disc. My other coach does an interview. Then they meet with the team. Then they meet with our mortgage provider. Then my wife and I take them out with their significant other, and then we have them sit with Fran. I used to be the end stop, so I made Fran the last one because if we decide to get rid of him, they'll think it's Fran and not us. Poor Fran.
And Chopper, what percentage of people kind of get through all 7 steps?
A percentage, about 80%, but like, the girl Siobhan that's over in Franklin Lakes, we took her all the way to the end. We were going to hire her, and then she went to KW, and now she's a independent realtor at Remax Select in Franklin Lakes.
Okay. And Chopper, what do you do when you bring people on and they don't do what they say they're going to do? How do you reconcile that to your culture?
We got to ask them to leave. We've had a few situations where it wasn't a good fit. I remember from when I was in the furniture industry, there was this one guy that always got like the best lines, companies that he'd represent, but he only lasted about a year. And I found out he was a great interviewer. So that's the thing you always got to be suspect of. People can tell you what you want to hear. You know, Sometimes you got to go from your gut. Patrick's been very good with his gut on a few people. But there's
Good job, bro.
but there's other times we get fooled.
So Chopper, where is your team business compared to where it was like in the prior 12 months? In the immediate 12 months to the 12 months ending, let's say July 31st, 24 versus July 31st, 25.
We're up
Up
about eight.
eight.
We're up about 8%.
And you know, Indona and I were going over it this weekend, and you know, 80% of our offices were plus or minus 2%. Okay, about 15% of our offices were up more than 10%, and we had 5% of our offices that were down. But it was amazing how close so many of the offices were, like within like Tinton Falls and Avenel, and like just a handful of offices that it was almost like they just repeated, like a carbon copy of the prior year. I mean, so like within $10,000 or $20,000 on numbers of $2.5–3 billion. And I think what that tells me is that, you know, people rise up to their own level, and then they kind of just step off the gas. And, I'm trying to figure out how do we break that culture? Maybe they get comfortable at a certain number, and they start taking off a little bit, or when they're behind that number, they get worried, and then they really hustle and work. And if they always hustle the entire time, just think what that would do for their career, their finances, their emotional value, right? I mean, when you're winning, I think most people are happier, right, than when they're worried about paying their bills. Yet, I think that we go into these cycles of self-sabotage. I don't know. Do you see them on your team as well?
Yeah, I think people get comfortable. They get busy and they take the pedal off the gas, but they, you know, like we're getting ready to start talking about next year. You know, next month we start talking about 2026 and getting ready for that.
I mean, Idona and I, we went out to visit. You know Jack Fry, Chopper?
Who's that?
Jack Fry, Remax in Reading.
No.
So in the broker owner world, he's like a Remax legend. At one point, he had 40–45% market share in Reading, PA. And now he's still around 27–28%. And when Adona and I went out there to meet him, because he runs such a good shop, what he's doing is he's basically just re-interviewing his agents, and I guess putting on a lot of weight by having constant lunches, and basically trying to figure out what he can do to add value to these people that have been with him forever and ever. Adona, can you put up this background noise is bad here?
Yes. Yes, so what Rob was just trying to, what he was saying, that we went to just visit him in that office. Now, Chopper, one question for you. When you hire somebody on your team, right, is there a goal that they must meet, like production-wise? Like, do they need to be at 5 million, 2 million? And then what happens if you find a team member that feel comfortable at $3 million? Do you keep that team member on your team?
Well, it's obvious, and Pat can jump in here. People ebb and tides. I mean, like my brother, I'll use my brother. 2 years ago, he was great, and this year he's in a fog, you know, and that's always the perplexing thing. It's like a shooting star, you know. It's challenge. His is a double-edged sword because he's my brother. So if he doesn't do anything, then he makes the rest of the team look bad. Patrick, you can segue from here.
Yeah, so to your first question, Idona, we do have a minimum standard on the team, which I believe is 8 sale transactions per year. If they do not meet that minimum standard, then of course we're sitting down with them and we're either putting them on a PIP, or we're sitting down with them and doing more one-on-ones, and then we're monitoring their production pretty closely over those next 90 days. If that producer, we believe that they're putting in all the effort that they could, and they're only a $3 million producer, then they could stay a team member. But that's not who we're looking to bring on, going forward. We want greater producers.
And by the way, we don't recruit. People come to us.
That's awesome. What about the rest of you? How do you guys, what are the standards for your team? And how do you make sure that, let's say one person falls behind, how do you try to like keep your other team members motivated? Because a lot of times me as a manager, if I have an agent who's something happened in their life and they're not doing as great as they did last year or the last 6 months, then I have other agents that would notice, right? And they would come up to me and ask me like, hey, what is the minimum standard? I thought the minimum standard at Remax was 2 transactions a quarter. How do you guys keep that going where it doesn't affect your other team members? Not everyone at once.
Well, let me see if our new family, Jason or Jennifer, can chime in here.
How did I see that coming?
I knew he was gonna pick on you. I had
Hold
it.
on, hold on, Jason. Let me see this. Are you like dressed in a suit already?
I am. Well, I'm half suit.
Suit.
Look, and I'll be honest. I'm probably there's probably inklings of experience in this group. So hopefully I'm not saying anything that's not crazy. But I kind of run by two things. Number one, slow to hire, quick to fire. I take forever to, I go through 3 interviews minimum with every person I bring on. And I also believe in if somebody wants to hit the minimum standard, they're not going to be on my team. I don't want minimum performers. I don't, I looked at last year and both of my agents that I only had 2 on the team at the time. They did better than the year before. And we all as a group did really, really well. So I kind of judged it on, look, where would I like them to be? Are they profitable? I looked at the numbers and go, what am I spending out versus what they're bringing in? And as long as there's a threshold where even the loss is minor, I don't look at the minimum, but I don't tell them you have to sell 1 a month because there's months that we may not sell. And then the next month they sell 3, I don't even do an average, but they kind of know if you're not putting in the work, you're probably not going to be there. So that's kind of the one I run through, but I also don't have a big team. So I don't know if that helps or that really answers the question or not.
Well, Jason, let me ask you this because you're the new guy on the block, so you get picked on a little bit here.
That's
so
okay.
Hopefully you keep coming back. Do you know, like I know one of my lessons that I learned early on was I had an agent that left corporate America. They were an executive in IT, and they came to us, and they made $250,000 a year. And I think like that. This is like 10 years ago. Like she's killing it, right? And then when I sat down with her, she's like, Rob, I'm struggling financially. Like I got kids in college. And my lesson there was I can never assume that like somebody's doing okay until you really ask them, like, what's your goal? Where are you relative to your goal? And you take it a level deeper beyond just what Jason Panos or Rob Lazar wants, but like, are you satisfied with your performance? And if not, what's going to happen is they're going to struggle both performance wise, emotionally, financially. It was an eye opener for me because everybody was like, oh my God. And she was it's really a big letdown for me, Rob. So I want to do you know what your team members personal financial goals are, like what they need to be happy, and do you go that deep?
No, yeah. So I mean, every new member we bring on, I walk them through what our program is, and or even somebody who wants to join the firm. I mean, I've sat down with many agents, and I know nobody wants to hear this, especially you, Rob, but I have told people you will not survive in the Remax brand because you have to be, a go-getter. You have to grind it out. It is expensive to be here, and if you don't grind it out, you're not going to survive. So I've told many people that. But I go into we do an entire business plan. What is your goal? And then share those goals. And I always do 3 professional goals, 3 personal goals. And then, you know, we do quarterly reviews. I want to see where they're at because I want to judge if their motivation is gone or are we just in a tough rut where we, you know, I think Chopper said the ebbs and flows. I think, you know, that's a perfect analogy of how I look at things. There's times where the market's just going to be a little slower and I don't want to ding somebody or stress them out. You didn't get that 2 sales because, you know, nobody on the team got 2 sales. You know, we each got 1, a few didn't get any or something like that. So I kind of steered away from the here's the minimum. Basically, it's in our agreement. When we don't feel you're hitting a standard that represents our brand, then that's when we'll have a discussion. If we can't correct the issue, you will be excused.
And I think you've done a good job at melding, you know, your team standards, making sure that they meet their own personal standards, right? Because somebody can meet the team standards, but you'll know that they're going to be in distress because they're not hitting their own goals, right?
Well, and I think if somebody comes up and they say, you know, I'd love to make $40,000 this year, you know, and if they do certain things, they're going to do that. They're still not unprofitable to the team, but they're not going to be your top producer on the team, but that's okay. They come in, they grind it out, they do the sales, they learn. I don't want to excuse someone for that too, but also there's people who's like, you know, I don't know why nobody's coming and just buying homes from me like it was COVID. So I think that there's a fine line between somebody who's satisfied with doing what they need to do to be happy, and then there's someone who wants to be, you know, the top, you know, 0.5% of the entire market. But I want both because I think both will motivate each other differently on the team. I think that having that dynamic. So
Are you intimidated that some agents will become too successful and want to go on their own, or are you comfortable with the value?
Now, you know, honestly, one of the things I do in my interview, I flat out tell them before I hire them, I said, look, you know, one of 2 things is going to happen while you're here. You're either going to learn everything I'm going to tell you, and you're going to tell me, look, you know, I appreciate everything you've taught me. I want to try this on my own, and I will help you do that. I will show you what you need to do to detach, to start your own, you know, basically as a single agent, blah, blah, blah. Or the second agent. I have learned everything. I could reproduce this, but why in God's green earth would I want to? I come to work, I sell real estate, and I'm happy because those agents, even the ones that leave, I believe that when they go out, and I've had this happen in town. I've had, you know, 2 agents leave my team and say, you know, the only reason that I was successful was because Jason taught me. And so other people hear that and they know that. So I'm like, look, I take the pride in the fact I'm able to teach them, but you're going to have turnover. You know, if we all said that we don't want top producers ultimately want to go and do other things. Well, half of them will want to go do it on their own. Half of them are so loyal to the team that they will stay and they will grind out and motivate. I'm not intimidated by that. In fact, I almost encourage it. Like if I can do that, I take that as a point of pride.
Right. In that case, I think if we don't talk about, you know, that there's other, I don't know how to go about it, but you kind of like hide that there are other opportunities where the splits are better, but you don't get what you get, right? Like,
sure. I think I like Jared James and what you were just saying. I love Jared James says this, and I actually used it similar to before he said it on stage.
$1 producer.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think he said it, and I'll get the quote wrong, but he said, you know, everyone asks, well, what happens if I teach them everything and they leave? And he says, what happens if you teach them nothing and they don't? It's like if I don't teach them everything they need and they ultimately stay, they're going to be a toxin on that team. They're going to be a drawdown. You're going to be spending money to keep them around to do nothing. Whereas if I teach them everything and they decide to utilize that and go do something else, great. There's enough business to go around. I think I forget who said it, but who said we don't recruit, people come to us. I recruit a little bit. I'm, you know, lightly doing it right now, trying to bring on a few more agents, but I don't devote a ton of time to it because I want people who want to come and represent the brand and represent what we're doing and grind it out and want to make a good living doing it. There's my soapbox. I'm sorry.
Hey, Rob, you said something pretty funny that I used on the interview the other day. an agent came to me and they were talking splits. And I had said, when was the last time you deposited a split? They stopped in their tracks.
You know, Glenn, it's not to say that we can, be egregious to take advantage, right? But how many of the team members know what it costs to run a team?
None.
Zero. None of them.
Yep.
Unless they ran one and failed, they have no idea what it takes to run a team. So I think sometimes we're intimidated. Oh my God, there's 100% company coming, Glenn, and they're offering $500 per transaction and no other fees. Well, look how many top producers there are there. Like zero, right? And there may even be like a founder that's doing okay there, but it's about you. I mean, Remax isn't going to save you, Glenn, as a team leader. There's no company that's going to save you. It's you, the way you run your team. And I think that everybody on this call is a little bit better because they have a humility and an ability to take new ideas and to run with them and implement them, right? And you, Glenn, like you always like to compare yourself to people that are crushing you. You go to the conference in Salt Lake City, you're like, man, I was like the second lowest guy in the whole conference, right?
Yeah. Yep. $1 billion+ producers.
But that didn't demoralize. I mean, I think you had a nice balance with the way you took all that in, right? You're like, hey, I'm gonna take a little bit from what they're doing. I'm gonna try to implement it a little bit, and just execute. It's not an overnight success, right? And if you're envious and jealous of what other people are doing, you'll try to swing for the fences and strike out. There's a process for growing at a normal, healthy level. And it really starts with caring about your agents and hiring the right people that fit that culture. And Glenn, earlier on, I don't know if you're on, I said it's not about technology. It's not about splits. There's a lot of things that people conflate with what it is, but those are not things that move the needle. It's not about the training that people don't use, and for the most part, it's not about the leads that people don't follow up on, right? I mean, you can give lousy, unmotivated agents lots of leads, and they'll still be lousy, unmotivated agents, right?
Yep.
And when you give leads, they'll find something else to complain about. So, anyway, I just hope that I can reprogram you, take you a little bit away from the noise about, what's, is my split competitive? Look at, do these people fit my culture and can I make an impact? Can I make an impact in their life as a leader? And not be afraid if they're going to leave. I mean, Glenn, have you had anybody leave to go to another company?
No, the opposite. They all come to me from the other like Keller's. Keller's a big one for me. That's where they just come. But I've had nobody leave except for one person passing away.
Yeah, I mean that's and we've been 4 years now, Glenn?
Yeah, I'm six years in the team and nobody's left.
So and you've got some pretty successful agents that one would think would be vulnerable, but I certainly think that they have a good cultural fit, and they're taking in value than they're paying for sure.
And I think a big piece of it too is being able to build a team under the team, right? That's how I've designed the process, so they're able to do that, so that they can too get out of production. Like I'm using myself as an example. This summer, I've worked 10 days since since June 1. And I have more listings than I've ever had in my entire life online, right? And I'm saying to them, like, make the choice. You design how you want to be. You design how you want to live.
Yep, you could be a martyr with one team member, or you could have. What was the biggest team you saw out at the conference, CSU?
Oh, there one's 250 agents, and they're doing $5.5 billion.
And they probably take more vacation than the average agent, right?
They do.
It's all about the systems.
The whole group does. Every one of them. None of them are slaves to the business. That was the most impressive part to me.
So everybody on this call, I mean, there's just amazing talent here. I'm just looking down the list, and you're only a phone call away from picking somebody's brain here and trying to find a better process for, you know, driving value to your team and helping them be successful. And Glenn, you're doing it. Your team's obviously thriving, and you know, I don't know where you are, but I'm guessing you're not moving right now.
I'm in Cancun.
Okay.
But bro, we did in July, the end of July, we passed last year's number, which is just crazy to me that could happen. And it almost feels like it's process, not work anymore. We just follow our process. And I want to make one quick offer. I got a invite kind of similar to the 10 sessions we did for the AI piece internally, from another brokerage. You know, I'm good friends with the ones that got it out at Heritage. They asked me to go out and do all 4 of their brokerages for 3 hours of AI training, high hitting AI training. So I'm going to live stream it, but just to a group for us internally, because I'm going to be doing it live with them. And you guys are more than welcome to invite folks. It's going to be super different than the one I did because ChatGPT 5 came out and it's changed the game quite a bit. It's September 19th. I'll send an invite to you and then you can share it. And then our group will be able to access that via live stream share that's just dedicated to us.
And Glenn, you just finished the other one, what, about 3 weeks ago? 2
Yep.
weeks ago?
Yep.
And now the game has completely changed.
It did. And that's why I'm updating the whole training, because agency is here. It's legit.
I just have to say, don't watch Glenn's training unless you're prepared to become addicted to AI. Right? I mean, it changes the way you think about the business, doesn't it?
It makes you a better question person. You ask better questions of your prospects and clients just by merely using AI. It's great.
Right. Because you have to learn how to ask AI the questions, right?
Yep.
To get the answers that you want. So I know we're 4 minutes over, team. You know, Glenn's on in Cancun. I'm on here in Malta because, you know, either you're committed or you're not, right? You start missing activities and missing your team calls, Glenn, then people don't show up, right?
Yeah, I just wrapped mine before this. And in fact, I apologize because I love being on these calls, and I've actually switched it where I'm having someone cover my Monday call so I can be here full time now.
All right. Well, I appreciate enjoying Cancun, Glenn, and congrats on exceeding last year already. Everybody else, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great productive week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Best time.